How could you summarize what permaculture is? Why is it good for humanity?
Well, I think because it's good for each one that practices permaculture. It's the way that we relate to our environment and culture and society, and it has some good, healthy guidelines that we can use to make our landscapes more productive, more resilient, more sustainable, in the true meaning of sustainable, in the sense that it can sustain life, it can sustain human activity for indefinite periods, and also it has to do a lot with the relationship between us and nature and us in between us humans.
For people who are not familiar with permaculture and have always thought that the green revolution was like the best thing that has happened lately, what would you tell to those people? I'm sure there's a lot of misinformation and ignorance combined with good intentions also. But what is the bottom line about the green revolution, and why is permaculture so revolutionary, contrary to that green revolution?
Well, the green revolution was very good in making farmers produce much more. The problem with the green revolution is that it didn't take into account many environmental factors, and today the green revolution is being held or stopped not so much because of technology or chemical fertilizer or pesticides. It's being stopped by the environmental capacities of dealing with these chemicals and regenerating soils that have been damaged by the same chemicals, and the cultivation methods of deep tillage and no mulch and just depleting the organic matters and humus from farmable land.
So I guess the green revolution focused on the fruit, but that's not really the most important factor. It's the soil, isn't it?
Well, yes, if you cultivate very healthy soil and very fertile soil, you don't need so much chemicals to enhance growth. What you asked, why is the permaculture so different and renovative versus the what we now call the old paradigm of green revolution, is that we now understand the same things that the people that made the green revolution happen understood, but we also understand many cultural and environmental factors that we take into consideration. So
right.
We don't only look at the NPK factors of the soil and substitute them with chemical fertilizer to enhance growth. We understand the NPK ratio and needs of the soil, but we substitute them with natural source of fertilizer.
You keep talking, I'm gonna go with this.
Human population grows very, very fast now, and we need to feed much more people. And green revolution and conservative organization of agriculture are looking for a way to produce more, and they're looking really hard to find better solutions for growing crops, and their solutions usually tend to go towards more chemicals and harsher chemicals and very sophisticated solutions of artificial cultivation substrate and so on, because soils are depleted, so they're looking for other ways like hydroponics and so on, and also into genetically modified crops that supposedly should give an answer to the problem of food production. But the thing is that this is a very slippery slope, we call it. It's a very dangerous route to take, because we don't know what are the outcomes of these genetically modified crops on the long term. And also we already know very well that the harsh chemicals and harsh cultivation methods are very destructive to the environment, and they have massive impact on the earth. It's global warming, soil erosion, death of rivers and estuaries. The ocean is being run out of fish and contaminated by our agricultural practices. And we are trying to come with a better solution. And the solution that we are coming with is to imitate the longest and most proved experiment ever taken on Earth, and this is the natural ecosystem. So we take the conclusions from that long-term experiment of billions of years and we apply it to agricultural systems. So we use polyculture, which means cultivating things in different layers that goes well together. So, well, if we have a field of corn and it's all the same corn, the same variety on vast areas, we only have one crop, and it's very sensitive to disease. It will deplete the soil very quickly. It needs a lot of input, and it also gives a lot of output of only one thing. And it's also very risky, because if a plague or any disease takes over, then it takes over the whole field. Whereas what we're trying to do is, instead of having just one crop, one layer of crop, to have maybe 2 layers of crop. So we can have maybe a fruit tree or a nut tree, and underneath it a shade or a semi-shade loving crop that we can harvest. For example, in the tropics we can speak about a cashew crop, and underneath it a cacao crop, which are 2 edible nuts, high in nutritional value, high in protein. You can pretty much live on cacao and cashew if you had to. And then we can even go another step farther and make it a 3-layer cultivation system and integrate coconuts into the system. And then we go each time a step farther and make the most integrative, holistic system that we can create, that shows extremely high resilience, very low maintenance, and the bottom line of that is that it enhances soil fertility in the long term. So in the short term we can have a crop that we can harvest, process and sell or feed off, and in the longer term we have high soil quality, systematic resilience to disease and pests, and a beautiful landscape as well.
So I think that's the beauty about permaculture. It's a lot of effort at the beginning, but then it starts to regenerate itself and be autosufficient, right?
Well, yes, we have noticed that when you start a permaculture project, usually it takes more labor in the first 2 years than maintaining a normal cultivar, but not necessarily much more. For example, here in this farm we never used any machine like a agricultural tractor or anything like that, which takes a lot more energy than just manual labor. So yes, in the beginning there were 6 or 8 workers working full-time job, but even the 8 workers are very little comparing with the energy and the money invested in an agricultural tractor with all the devices and the workers that has to go with that. And then we found out that through the years the need for